Hello and welcome to my channel Happy Hours. In my last video, I discussed about the reasons for the failure of bureaucracy and a little bit about the need for the good governance. In this video, I am going to discuss about the good governance, about the different features and how it got evolved, about significance in India. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump to the topic good governance, and for this we have to understand the idea given by Kautilya and Gandhiji. The concept of good governance started with Kautilya. It was mentioned there that Yogakshema, which means the concept of welfare. And Gandhiji also given a concept of Surajya, or we can say Ramrajya, which means that governance through the dharma. Gandhiji's ideas was about the Surajya. It was different from Swarajya. It can be a subcomponent of good governance, means Surajya. They are not synonymous to each other. Dharma or righteousness to be the goal of the state. These two individuals make certain references which can be very much correlated to concept of good governance. Though they have not coined the term good governance, but the good governance is a modern idea. It was developed in the last 3 or 4 decades back. It was coined by the World Bank. It took up a survey in the sub-Saharan region of Africa with an objective to arrive at the reasons for the underdevelopment or economic underdevelopment of the region, where it concluded that it was because of the lack of good governance and that they were unable to develop. So only the term was coined by World Bank in the year 1989. The idea of good governance was not presented. What is meaning of is that by the lack of governance. For that, the World Bank elaborates about the idea. Good governance is a set of political administrative reform initiatives, and it is preconditions for achieving economic growth and development. Until these reforms are initiated, then only we can achieve development. In summary, a good governance relates to the political and institutional processes and outcomes that are necessary to achieve the goals of development. The true test of good governance is the degree to which it delivers on the promise of the human rights, civil, cultural, economic, political, and social rights. So, 3 institutions were set up, which were IMF, World Bank, and UN. IMF was to help the country when they are facing the balance of payment crisis. We can have an understanding by the example that Pakistan have faced this problem for 24 times. India faced this problem only once in 1980s. Because of that, the good governance concept emerged in India. And World Bank, it was the aid provider. The good governance concept to all the countries were provided, and they started giving good governance and aid with the conditions. So if you want a loan, then you have to fulfill certain conditions, which was under the good governance sub conditions. Sub-Saharan region was provided of billion of aid. Even then, they were unable to achieve the target, or can say that they were still under economic development stage, and the reason was lack of good governance. So what are the different features of good governance? These are the accountability, transparency, responsiveness, participation, rule of law, equity and equality, efficiency and economy, consensus orientation. We are going to discuss these in one by one. The term political administrative reforms, which were talked about the earlier, was the political structure with the above mentioned 8 features. World Bank talk about accountability, democracy, independent independent judiciary, and they elaborated about one or more features also. Now let us discuss about the accountability, means being answerable. Decisions taken by authority should be answerable for the decision, means whatever decision is going to be taken, if there is a faulty or there is a problem, they should be able to answer. They should answer to the citizens. Accountability is the acknowledgement of an assumption of responsibility for actions, products, decisions, and policies such as administration, governance, and implementation, including the obligation to report, justify, and to be answerable for the resulting consequences. Now, the next one is transparency, the quality of being seen through. It promotes accountability and provides information for the citizens about what their government is doing. Next is responsiveness, responding to the need of the people, or we can say to understand the needs of the people. In detail, we can say delivering services which citizens want and in the manner that they want, resolving the problem the way they want to get resolved. It is contrary to the administrative convenience which was in the earlier stage. You will be satisfied by this. Like e-government, we can say it is take as an example is an e-government. There is no need to go to any services, and the convenience is there because the services are delivered to our doorstep. Next is participation. Our participation is means active involvement of all the participants, or we can say all the stakeholders are the participants of any rules or policy. Self-help organizations, feedback mechanism, elections are the example of participation. Participation is should be there in the policy making, policy implementation, policy evaluation, policy monitoring. In policy cycle, every element is linked to each other. Now, the policy in policy cycle, first one is the policy enactment, in which the NGOs, self-help group are the part of that, or we can say one result to the another. They realize that whenever there is a policy, the government is releasing a draft policy, so that there will be a debate, discussion, and people will be able to have the clarity of what the policy is all about. And media is playing an important role in bringing up experts to increase the number of participation, because now everyone is understanding what exactly the policy is all about. Now next is the policy implementation. Some organizations are participated like self-help group and other like National Rural Livelihood Mission. These are the schemes and is being help in the policy implementation. Next is the policy monitoring, means midterm review. An example for it is right of information. Rule of law means the lack of arbitrary exercise of authority. Next is equality or an equity, the objective of inclusive growth, supremacy of the constitution. Next one is the efficiency and economy. This is where bureaucracy is severely lacking. How the money is to be used, the resources are limited to get the maximum output, and these were leading to the delay in the decision making also. Next is consensus orientation, an attempt to build consensus in decision making. For a diverse country like India, the consensus is difficult to achieve in decision making. Every community and every part of the society is having their own demands and concerns, and all the policies cannot deal adequately with all the concerns and demands. So, saying that there will be always absolute consensus is not possible. With all the policies, we cannot achieve the absolute consensus. There should always be an attempt to build consensus. As far as possible, the decision making should be with consensus. Now let us understand about the criticism of good governance. West centric, it is a West centric model. There is a lack of context sensitivity. It is exogenic, and the last is forced as aid conditionality and not voluntarily accepted. Now let us discuss all these in one by one. First is West centric model. This policy can be accepted in West when they're having different condition. But a country like India, which is developing, we cannot accept it because there are different problems being faced, like the where the people under the poverty line, they need subsidy. But whenever you are accepting the good governance, they're asking not to give subsidy to anyone. Implementation is of liberty, and it's not easy to give liberty in India. Capitalism also, it is not equal applicable in developing country. Next is the lack of context sensitivity, because there is a lack of ground realities, social acceptance, problems faced by people are neglected during policies imposition, because every group is not under the concern of the world. Now next is the exogenic. It is imposed from outside. Contrary idea to is endogenic, something which is internally evolved or accepted, and the good governance conditions were imposed by IMF or World Bank. So it is not accepted more willingly. There was the Right to Education Act, means continuation of comprehensive evaluation. But a country like India, you cannot accept that because it is not easy of to use it or to implement it. Now let us understand the analysis. It's about the good governance, whether it is exogenic or endogenic in India. It is somewhat a mixture of exogenic and endogenic. First, discuss about the exogenic features, which is in 1991, LPG was introduced through aid conditionality. Secondly, the contemporary governance for sustainable development goal was the given forced us. Next is for that we can understand different summits were there and for policy making, like the climate change summit, and the incentives are provided. For this, you have to change the fuel from non-renewable to renewable. There is the rule number 16, which is for peace, justice, strong institution. And contemporary governance is very much influenced by the global institutions like the UNs. The agenda and the charter of such organization influences decision making in India as well. For example, the Sustainable Development Goals, National Human Rights Commission was formed in the background of the Summit Paris Principle 1991. In the 1993, law was passed and we created a body. And we have another example that are the indexes, like gender index. These are all because of the exogenic influence. Next, we are having the endogenic existence of constitution, where we are having some values like justice, equality, liberty, etc. There is another thing, that is the participation, and like PRIs, Panchayati Raj institutions, and legislature. There is an increase of participation. People themselves are also having, there is an increase of awareness. Next, we have to understand the laws enacted, adopted and enforced, like RTI Act in 2005. RTI is also known as Right to Information. Right to Service Act has been adopted by the state legislatures, and the first state to adopt was Rajasthan. Now the getting services from the states become the legal right. means the mandatory right. We can approach the judiciary for the services to be provided. Next is the competitive policies. It evolved after the 1967 political evolution. It was an era of political evolution for India. Election takes place on and Congress party got power in Lok Sabha. It got the absolute majority, but in state legislative elections they lose about 80% of the state. Or we can say that they were not able to get full majority and they formed the government there with the coalition. This happened for the first time in the history of Indian politics. In 1987, the regional party got power, or we can say they got emergence. They had got the stake in the Lok Sabha. The party got realization that this can even happen with the Lok Sabha. Since the local party emerged as a power, it leads to competitive politics. Parties started competing with each other, and after 1989, that was the first time no political party got the absolute majority in Lok Sabha elections or in center. That is in union also they failed to get the majority. We see an existence of coalition government. It was for very short period, means for 1 year only. And it was because of the competitive politics. So now there are the positive as well as negative impact of this competitive politics. The positive impact is that emergence of the concept of good governance. For example, in 1990s, Mandal Commission was constituted. It was for the first time there was a reservation of other backward classes. There was a thought that if we will not do, some other will do. So they understand now they have to do good to the people or they have to perform well for this in front of citizens. Next is RTI. That was another very important step. It is the single most important legislative act to achieve good governance. In the year 2002, there was a bill passed which was freedom of information, but it was unable to get implemented. But soon the next political party was able to form the government and they passed this and they implemented it in the year 2004. In the year 2019, reservation for economically weaker section also a bill was passed by the parliament. In the year 2006, OBC reservation was also extended to the higher educational institutions. There is a decline in corruption. There has been significant declination in the corruption. We have seen this. Before the year 2014, we have seen 2G spectrum case, coal block allocation case, and many other corruption case. But after the formation of 2014 government, up to some extent, the corruption was not there. Means there the declination is in corruption because they realize if there will be a corruption, the center will lose power, or we can say the political party will fall. Next, the example for it is the governance. That is, the steps are taken in order to achieve declination in the political corruption. If there is a positive impact, there must be negative impact also. And that is, first is political defection. We have gone through the term anti-defection law. And it was due to this only, due to the political competition. There was a law passed because the people were changing their parties to get the power. This case was happened in Maharashtra and Jharkhand also. They faced this competition. Next is the freebies or popularist policies. This means they are making false promises to get attraction of the voters. They are highlighting something just to get attention of the people. Next is the communalization, or we can say the communal policies, creating a divide on the basis of religion. Next is criminalization of politics. Now we have seen many times it happen that to win a seat, we are giving the seat to a person who are criminals because they are giving some assurance that they are going to win that seat for the party. Next is the increase in the education and awareness. That is a positive thing. It means they have contributed to good governance. Now people are knowing their rights. Brings about more assertiveness of their rights. Now the demands are changing. Demands for education, for better health, and overall increase in the standard of living. It transforms the nature of their participation from a simple beneficiary to an active participants. By this, I am concluding my video. Thank you.